Greetings. We are live today with Dr. Laurent, and we're talking about nurses making money moves. Welcome, Dr. Farah Laurent.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to get into this conversation. So it's an honor to be on your show. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for saying yes to the invitation, darling. Well, I have the way that I like to kick things off is I like to know, how do you show up in the world?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a great question. The way that I show up in the world, I think really easily to say it would be full of energy and full of joy. My name actually, Farah, the definition of my name alone means joy and happiness. So from early childhood all the way up, always been an energetic, super positive person, and always tried to stay grounded in gratitude and faith. So that's how I show up. Yeah.
I love that so much. Joy and happiness. Sounds like a song.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. So, um, where's the origin of your story begin?
So really, a lot of people ask me. So I'm a first gen immigrant, very proud. Was born in West Africa in Ivory Coast, immigrated to Canada when I was 9. English was not my first language, it was actually French. So moving to Canada was kind of a big culture shock. I had to learn how to speak English. A lot of the children were not that kind as some of these elementary kids are. So there's a lot of bullying going on. But I quickly learned how to advocate for myself at a young age, um, and really start my confidence building journey. So that's kind of how I started. I always knew that I wanted to help people get into healthcare, and I chose nursing. So that's how I started my journey. In nursing school, I had one instructor who was super nice, super energetic. She was an ER nurse. And I was like, I want to be like her. And then I had another instructor who was not so nice and asked me one day in my senior year of nursing school and said, Hey, what type of nurse do you want to be? And I said, I want to be an emergency nurse. I used to watch Trauma Life in the ER. I'm like, that's the type of nurse I want to be. And she literally laughed in my face and was like, You'll never be an emergency nurse. You're too unorganized. And you should stick to med surge, which is like the typical medical surgical unit they tell everybody to go to. But of course, I didn't listen to that. And I pursued my dream of being an ER nurse. And I got hired right as a nursing student before I even graduated. So then I later promised myself that I would become that cool educator to inspire the next generation of nurses and help them in their journey as they begin nursing.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. So you've wrote a book,
Yes, yes, yes.
and the book is called Nurses Making Money Moves. So let's get all the tea.
Yeah. So, throughout my nursing journey early on, I feel like I didn't have mentors early on in my journey. I had some really good preceptors and some people I talked to here and there. But if there's one thing I could kind of redo a little better is to get more mentors,
Mm,
both in nursing and outside of nursing. So I didn't really have anybody to guide me, to teach me, like, hey, you can negotiate your salary, you can negotiate your compensation package. We're not really taught financial literacy in nursing school.
right.
And we're a profession of service. We keep, we're giving, we're taking care of other people, but a lot of times we neglect our own needs. And I think that's kind of what's missing in healthcare. So I
Mm,
decided to start my own business, helping new graduate nurses get into positions like the ER, ICU, all these positions that I was told when I started I couldn't do right away. But I'm like, why not? Like, you can do it right away. So, really, to empower the next generation and give them the education that they need in terms of financial literacy, how to negotiate their salary, how to market and promote themselves. early in their journey and throughout their journey. So that's why when I started my business called, Farah Laurent International Nurse Coach, other nurses started coming to me and like, hey, how did you start this business? Do you need to get certified? How did you do it? So then I'm like, well, I'm just going to write a book about it. So in 2023, I self-published a book called Nurses Making Money Moves, a nurse's guide to starting a business. It's on my website, and you could find it there at nursefarah.com. So I just thought it was important to normalize talking about money in a service-based profession like nursing.
I love that. I love that. I've got someone I want you to partner with. You might already know her, but if not, we'll get to that. She is the nurse student loan
Yeah,
doctor.
we met recently. Yeah.
Okay.
She
Y'all
came
moved
to
in the
my
same
conference.
circle.
Yeah, she came to my conference in Tampa. So I actually founded another kind of movement called Nurses Making Business Moves. And I held a second annual conference in Tampa. The first one was called Nurses Making Money Moves off the book. And then I changed it to Nurses Making Business Moves because I really wanted a space to create an event for nurses and other business entrepreneurs to come together, not just nursing,
Yeah.
but to invite other business owners to really teach nursing students, any level of nurses, that you could start a business. And even if you don't want to start a business, that you need to adopt a business mindset to be sustainable in nursing. And there's a big focus on financial literacy at that conference. So yes, I was able to meet her there. She was one of the vendors. And it was amazing.
Awesome. Speak more about the business mindset to become better nurses. What's that
Yeah.
look like, and how did you get to that?
Yeah. So, I think early on, just in the educational system, we're always taught, hey, go to school, get your degree, and get the job, put your head down, do the work type thing.
Right.
So I was an ER nurse for about 13 years in total. I was a travel nurse. I also left Canada. I moved to New York City to pursue travel nursing. And I think that's when I made that move is when my mind started expanding a little bit more, right? Like, obviously, I was like, let me go to the biggest city I could find. New York City, right, is known for like a bustling city that's like, you go there, make your dreams happen, you make it happen. If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, right? That type of mindset. So I'm like, this is where I want to go. So when I went there, that's when I started expanding my thinking. Um, I was at one of the biggest hospital systems in New York City. I had
Mm,
all the certifications, all the qualifications, all the degrees. I kept applying for positions, but kept getting rejected. And
mm,
it wasn't until I realized, hey, I think there's an issue with the way people are perceiving me, the perception, the branding piece of it. And I actually had a nurse manager come to me and say, hey, Fair, you should really work on your branding. And I was like, what is she talking about? I'm an ER nurse. And it was right after having like a performance eval that I didn't agree with.
right.
They were really like, I'm a very transparent and direct person. And they were just like evaluating my personality, not really the work. So, I was very vocal and said, I'm not going to sign this. And then she later came to me with that comment. And it wasn't until I started my business that I realized the importance of managing your personal brand so that people have the right understanding of who you are, what your values are, what you stand for, and what you do, so that they don't have a misconception or perception of who you are. So branding really came into it. And then that's when I started understanding the business aspect of nursing and just healthcare in general, and how
Mhm.
nurses need to adopt that business mindset to be successful as a nurse, whether it's negotiating salaries, whether you're in the boardroom, how you communicate, how you show up in meetings, all of that can really support whether you get promoted or not in nursing.
I love that. I love that. Those are three key things to think about: who you are, your values, and what you do. I love that. And in saying that too, I love to talk about self-love care. And you mentioned how nurses don't necessarily take care of themselves. Can you speak a little bit more about that and what that looks like, and how you touch on that in the book?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think obviously as a service-based profession, nursing, it's a very we're always taking care of others. Literally in the ER, we used to literally risk our lives. Like there were pandemics going on, things like Ebola, all these things, being exposed to different diseases and toxins and things. And we're always taking care of other people. And then what happens, especially, it's a female dominated profession. There are a lot of males that have been coming into nursing,
Yeah.
but a lot of women also have families and children. So when we go home, we're also expected to take care of the home, the children, the husband, the whoever, your partner, whatever. So it can get very overwhelming. And a lot of times we don't put ourselves first as nurses. And then there's this joke that like, oh, nurses are like the worst patients because we don't really take care of ourselves. Physicians are the same way, right? Um, so really learning how to put ourselves first, because if we don't put ourselves first, then we're good to no one, right? So that's kind of the thinking that we have to take better care of ourselves as nurses.
So is there a juicy part in the book that's going to tell them how to do that?
Well, the book really focuses on mainly how to start a business and how to put your mindset, even if you don't want to start a business, to at least start building a personal brand. So, my backstory about kind of how I got pushed into entrepreneurship is, as I told you, I was applying constantly, getting all the certifications because nurses love to do the most. We're very well educated.
Yes.
We're always getting, the next degree, the next certification, but a lot of times it doesn't equate to promotions or more money. It just really equates to more work sometimes.
Mm.
And the backstory is I actually got laid off 3 times in 5 years,
Wow.
despite having a doctorate degree and all these things. And what I noticed was the higher up in leadership that I got, and other
Mhm.
diverse women leaders face the same. Once you start speaking up, you start advocating for things that are not right, you're seen as the bad guy, right? And sometimes instead of them, it's just easier to get rid of you. So that's kind of what happened to me because I could not sleep at night if I didn't advocate for the things I really believed in. So for me, I'm like, I'd rather be in a place where I advocate and I don't compromise my values. And if that means that they let me go for that, then so be it. Because I just couldn't sit in those rooms and just be quiet.
Right.
So that's when I said, entrepreneurship is something that you can build that is so powerful that nobody could take away from you, where you can start generating your own personal brand, have people trust you. And nurses are so knowledgeable and we can offer so many different things. So for me, it was coaching these new nurses and also coaching other aspiring nurse entrepreneurs to grow their businesses, because I'm like, I didn't work this hard for people to just for me to depend on one employer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that for you. Um, I'm curious, when you got these downloads and these shifts, were you working with mentors then? When did the mentors and the coaching kind of take shape for you?
Yeah, so in the beginning when I first started my business, it was the summer of 2021. I started watching a lot of like marketing people on YouTube, listening to a lot of podcasts, and then I was like, I'm gonna start showing up on LinkedIn. LinkedIn was my main platform.
Mhm.
and talking about my own experiences, my own journey, coming up as a nursing student. I told the story about how my instructor told me I'd never be an ER nurse. And I
Right.
started talking to other nursing students, and they were facing the same exact issues I was facing even 10, 20 years ago. So then I said, well, I'm going to be kind of the voice for these new graduate nurses.
Yeah.
So I started showing up on LinkedIn consistently, creating content, building my personal brand. And then um, I started realizing that I had to invest in myself to get coaches. So one of my first coaches was a business coach out of the UK.
Mhm.
That's Veronica Safoa Owusu. She was the keynote speaker. Actually, I invited her to come. And then I invested in a marketing person. So like it just kept going on. And obviously now being in this community, the mastermind community with Rachel Rogers, I've been following her for a while. And obviously this is how we met. I just realized over time that you can't really grow in business alone, that you have to have coaches, you have to invest in yourself. And personal development, just like in nursing, is very important in business. And there's a lot of transferable skills, especially being an ER nurse, that are
Absolutely.
transferred into business. So, yeah, so that's kind of how it came about. Just a lot of education and coaching.
I love to because I'm picking up a lot of self-awareness. And I feel like that is something that you cannot be taught. And like most don't want to go inside. They don't want to see what's there because sometimes it's too painful and all those things. And
Yeah.
and you seem very self-driven, self-motivated. Where'd that come from?
I think a lot of people do ask me that. I think it's from, honestly, I always root it back to like faith and also the way that I was brought up, right? Especially, we had a good life in West Africa because a lot of people have a misperception of like
Mhm.
Africa, right? But like, and there's so many different countries, but I believe growing up there, made me a very multicultural person. I understand cultures. I have a different worldview because of my, biracial and multicultural upbringing. And then when I immigrated to Canada, obviously, I saw my dad, working multiple jobs. He was also an entrepreneur, which I didn't realize that until later because he had multiple businesses when I was younger, and I didn't realize it until later. And I think I've adopted a lot of my skills from him. And he's very positive and he's a go getter and he just makes things happen. He travels. My mom's a little bit more introverted. But I think that's where I get my ambition from, is probably my father and then my upbringing.
I love
Because
that.
I always felt like Canada and the US, right? It's like there's so many opportunities for you to succeed, and you have to be self-driven.
I
You're
love
like
it.
you can't, like, people can't tell you. There's so much people, yes, can pour into you, but like you have to take that accountability to want to be ambitious and self-driven. So when I saw them working so hard, I was like, at a young age, I'm like, I want to be successful. I don't want to have to depend on them, and I want them to be proud and, almost that like immigrant mentality. So I think that's kind of where it came from, that
I
drive.
love
Yeah.
that. And so there's so many questions going through my mind. Um, I love that. So not to assume your dad is Canadian.
No, no, no. Yeah, he was born in Lebanon. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. Have you ever visited?
No, 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 no. I wish I would have visited, but was not able to. Yeah. That was like a dream of mine. But yeah, was not able to go. Yeah. But I
Okay.
love to travel. That's another thing.
Well, tell us all about your travels. Where you been? And where you going?
Oh, well, like before the kids, we used to travel quite a bit, but I've been to like a bunch of islands, Jamaica, Dominican, um, Republic, Cuba, Europe, went to Germany, France, Amsterdam, a bunch of places there. Yeah. So really
Okay.
like to travel. Yeah. And a bunch of places across Canada and the US. Yeah.
Have you taken your children to West Africa yet, or is that on the
Not
plan?
yet, but it's definitely on the list as they get a little bit older, so they could kind of remember everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And you, so it sounds like, did you do all this while giving birth to children too? Like, tell us all about that. Like, how was that?
Yeah, so everybody thought I was crazy because so my son, so I was actually working in the ER, pregnant, all the way to like the last week before I was supposed to deliver. I was still working in the ER till like the week before. And I was in a master's program for education while I was pregnant. And I couldn't even go to my graduation because it was the same week that I had to deliver him.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was that. And then when he was about 4 years old, my daughter was born during COVID.
Mm.
And a few months after she was born, I then decided to start my doctoral journey, doctoral program, and start my business in 2021. Because my thinking was like, if I don't do it now, like, when am I going to do it? And another drive was like, I wanted to do it for myself, right? To be a doctor. And then
Mhm.
also to show my kids, like, hey, you could do whatever you want type thing. And so, yeah, that's kind of what it was. And I was really tired of working for people,
That
you
part.
know? And I'm like, I can't continue to apply to all these places. I turn these programs around, I'm doing all the things,
Mhm.
and there's no real not just appreciation, but like there you still get lowball offers. They're not paying you what you deserve. And it could be a very oppressive type system, right?
That's
So
what's
I,
going
I
through
didn't
my
like, yeah, I didn't like that corporate, and it's like they could get rid of you literally at the drop of a dime. And that's what happened. Like literally in a day, I got laid off, like in a minute.
mind.
Like I don't like that type of uncertainty. So to me, people think business is so uncertain, and they're like, "Oh, it's so risky to have a business." But I'm like, "But it's so risky to just depend on one employer too, right? So why not try to build something of your own at the same time as well, you know?" So
I love that. I love that so much for you. And it's such a you're such a guiding light for other nurses as well as your children. What are some of the professions in the nurses that you've worked with? What kind of businesses have they started?
yeah, so like I said, when I wrote the book in 2023, I went to a conference, a national conference that I spoke at, and a couple people got my book. And I remember this one email. It was a young lady. She wanted to start a fertility service-based business where she educates families that have fertility issues. And just from reading my book, she was able to start her LLC. So that was one business she started.
Oh, wow.
Other people started coaching businesses, like career coaching businesses. Some started private practices on their own.
Mm.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then I think you don't realize sometimes the work that you do, the impact that it makes, because sometimes we get in our feelings a lot. And I was like, oh, well, the first conference, I didn't have sponsors. I didn't have any sponsors. The second conference, because it was a lot of money up front, right, to invest in this because it's all me self-funded. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna have another one. And then people are like, are you kidding me? Like the impact that you're making. And I was like, well, I need some sponsors.
Right. Well, you're a manifester. I believe you get what you ask for.
Yes, yes, I truly believe in that, in manifesting. And that's actually part of the work we do with the new graduate nurses. Because when I first started, I thought, oh, I'm just going to help them with their resume, cover
Right.
letter, and all this technical stuff. But as we know, it's much deeper than that, right? It's like their mindset, how they think, because so many of them, just because they get one or two rejections, they start spiraling into this self negative talk And they're like, oh, it's so competitive. I'm not going to get a job. I need to leave the state. I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't have to leave California. Like, it's a huge state. And that's part of the work we do, about really believing in themselves, because I think sometimes nursing school chips away at their confidence a little. So when they come to me, they're not confident. They're really doubting in their skills and abilities. So I call myself like the ultimate hype woman. I'm like, I hype them up, make sure they're confident. Cause I'm like, if you're going to an interview, I don't care on paper how good you look on paper. I'm like, you can have a 4.0 GPA, all of the things on paper, but if you can't communicate with confidence, with clarity, and connect with these people, I'm like, they're not going to hire you, you
Right.
know? So, yeah. So that's kind of the stuff we work on. Yeah.
I love that. You're such a beautiful light. I've been smiling through this whole thing.
Oh,
Like,
thank you. Thank you.
I love your energy. I love your tenacity, all of the things. And in my head, while we're having these conversations, I'm writing down all the people that I want to connect you to that you probably may already know, but I'm still like, I want to hook you
Yeah.
all up. It's, the overarching question that's popping out to me though, so you knew you wanted to do the ER, become an ER nurse, and then once you got in it, what
Yeah.
kept you there for 13 years?
Oh my goodness. I love the ER. To me, I used to watch the show Trauma Life in the ER.
Mhm,
I love that fast-paced environment. But when I was in the ER, so me and another girl, only two of us out of like 110 students, we
mhm.
picked like our top three. My top was the ER. So me and her got to go. So we were so excited to actually get that opportunity to go. And I was like, this is my chance, like, to impress them, right?
Okay.
But like when I got there, I felt like it was home for me
Mhm.
because it wasn't boring. And you got to talk to so many people in the community. I feel
Mm,
like it's the closest thing to the community where you can actually advocate for them, you could educate them, and it's a different pulse like that you have on the community, and you're constantly talking to different people all the time. So that's what I loved about the ER. And it was never boring. You saw anywhere from neonates, like babies, all the way up to geriatrics. So you saw the whole range and you saw the community. And that's what I loved, to be able to make an impact and to really advocate for people because, you know, yes, there's great things in healthcare, but we know it's not perfect. And we need strong individuals in healthcare who are going to be ready to advocate for these patients, families, and communities. Because there's a lot of things that are going on, as you can see, that
right.
are not right, a lot of inequities. So I was always a big like fighter and advocate. So I was like, I belong in the ER. And that's what I loved about being there. And it's just exciting. There's always something new.
It tells
And
me
like
that
gunshots and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like that. You just have to have the heart for it. And I was always like a calm person, right?
Mhm.
You have to have that calm demeanor to really relate to people quickly and give them a sense of comfort, like, hey, I got you. We're gonna get through this type thing. So yeah, and then that's how I stayed for that long. Yeah.
I love that. All the things that you got it early on, that's what you wanted to do. And so it feels like it was a calling to me. How do you see that?
Yeah, I think so because like I never really, I had rotations on other units, but it never really excited me like the ER. Um, and also I think like a lot of us probably have undiagnosed ADHD, and I can't sit down, so I was always like running around doing things. And I just love that about the ER. And then it's just exciting. There's always something new. And you can see people improve pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you take care of them at their worst vulnerable times and you stabilize them literally you're saving their lives, right? And then bringing them to the ICU. And I always say, like, of course, we're the most badass nurses because because we take care of it all.
I believe so. Doctors get a lot of the accolades and things like that, the medical doctors, but I believe nurses truly wear capes. Like
We're
you
the
are
backbone
the we're the real heroes. You
of
are. You are.
healthcare.
Absolutely. I love that. There's so much goodness and yumminess in this. What would you say out there to women that are thinking about nursing or in their nursing program? What kind of
Yeah,
knowledge would
I
you
always,
share?
I feel like there's a lot of negativity sometimes around healthcare and nursing, but I always try to use my platform to uplift our profession, to say, yeah, no profession is perfect, but I truly believe that nursing is the best profession that you can get into, because not only does it afford you some stability in terms of like financial stability, because you're always going to need nurses. You can travel with nursing, right? There's travel nursing. I left Canada, came to the US because of nursing, and you don't have to stay in one area. You could be an ER nurse, an ICU nurse, and it's not just hospital nursing. There's home care where you can go to people's homes. You could do remote nursing. There's people working for insurance companies. There's tech, nurses in tech and informatics. So the range of, the spectrum of nursing is so wide that, like, if you get bored with one thing, you could just hop on to the next thing. Um, you know, and there's even nurses that are in jobs that are like don't have nurse in the title, right?
Mhm.
There, there's nurses sitting on boards and even in policy in the government, doing
Right.
things in government. And I think the public doesn't really know that. And when they think of a nurse, they just think hospital or bedside, but it really goes beyond that. So that's another thing that I use my platform to educate the public. And also, we need more nurses in media to really explain all the different things and the roles that nurses do and have. So my biggest thing is just stay positive and find what's right for you and don't settle for less, because a lot of them will get guided into the wrong area. And I'm
Yeah,
like, you don't have to stay there for a year, because they think they have to stay there for a year for their resume. And I'm like, no, if you're miserable, leave and do something else. And come to
absolutely.
me, I'll help you.
And come to you, you will help them. So tell them about that. How do they come to you so that you can help them and what you got going on?
Yeah, so basically, a lot of new nurses know where they want to go. Some don't. So I help them with that clarity piece. Typically, they come to me through TikTok or LinkedIn. They'll send me a message. They see my videos on YouTube or TikTok or LinkedIn. So
What's your
typically,
social name?
it's Dr. Farah Laurent on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to find me. So they message me there. And my website is nursefarah.com. Some of them go there and book a call, but typically LinkedIn is probably the easiest way. And I have a group coaching program and also a one on one coaching program where basically I'm taking these nurses, helping them get clarity, helping them with their job search, and being proactive in their job search, not just like apply and sit back.
Mhm.
Helping them with personal branding, their LinkedIn optimization, and really understanding the art of interviewing and helping them. Really, the transformation after they work with me is confidence. Like one girl I talked to the other day, she's like, "Oh, I crushed it! Like I slayed that interview." Like they're so confident, and then they're getting same day offers. Some of them,
Mm.
like hospital systems like Stanford,
Love it.
same day or next day offers. Yeah. So, and my clients typically work with me for literally anywhere from a week to 3 months. In less than 90 days, they're getting their preferred job, like preferred specialty at the preferred hospital or facility or wherever they want to go. Yeah.
Oh, you're badass. I love it.
Yeah. And they're making over 100K.
6 figures to boot. I love it. I love it. Right out of grad.
Right out of school. Right out of school. Yeah.
Awesome. So you heard it here. You heard it straight from her mouth. She got you
I
all the
got
time. So you get with her. Let's switch it up a little bit. Let's talk about, what do you do for fun? How do you unwind? What are you brings you joy? Joy.
Yeah, joy. Yeah. So the biggest thing, after the conference, I think I even said this in the mastermind. I took a little rest off social for a little bit. So really just spending, time with the kids, going out to the park, nature, whatever. Traveling is a big thing I like to do. Art, like I like photography and stuff like that. And then music is huge. Just
Mm.
music. If I can go to a concert, but it's tough now sometimes with the kiddos to go to concerts. But concerts, music, and I
What
would say
music?
comedy.
Harmony.
Comedy.
Oh,
Like
comedy.
yeah, like stand-up comedy. Yeah.
Awesome. Who's your favorite right now?
I mean, there's so many, like Steve Harvey, there's what's that guy's name? Is his name Joy? I don't know. There's so many of them that I watch, and I just watch the clips.
I love that. I love that. I'm for some reason I'm attracted to the guy. His name is Mo Brooks. He is he's a little raunchy, but he is so funny. Oh my
Oh
God.
yeah, it sounds familiar, but yeah, sometimes I'll just like watch a couple clips and or like what's his name? He used to be on the Daily Show. Um Trevor Noah.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I don't watch a lot of TV sometimes, but I did see that you posted that you were on J HUD. Tell us about that experience.
Yes, 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 yes. So I got to be on the Jennifer Hudson show. Remember we talked about manifesting earlier? I
Yes.
totally manifested that. I called my mom one day and I was like, oh, so I'm gonna be on the Jennifer Hudson show. And then she started laughing because she's like, every time I tell her something, she knows it happens. So I went on the website. They had like some business thing for women. I applied, I told my story. And then a couple months later, I was driving and a producer called me. It was like December. And she's like, hi, I'm from the Jennifer Hudson show. Da, da, da. I was like, yeah, of course you are. And she was like asking me some questions. And before she even ended, I was like, so are you flying me to Cali? Like, what's going on? And she said, no, not yet. She's like, we still got to get to know you.
Okay.
I was like, okay, cool. And then there was a series of emails. And then she's like, oh, another producer wants to meet you on FaceTime. Can you do that? And I was like, okay. But then they tricked me. And it was literally just Jennifer Hudson who called me and talked to me about, like, asked me about the business, how I help these new nurses.
Oh,
Uh, and she did a whole 5 minute segment with me. And then my kids were there too. So they gave them like a Toys R Us gift card and all that. So yeah, it was cool.
I love that. What episode is that? Where can we find you? What the date? What you know?
Oh my gosh. I don't remember the date, but it was like it aired sometime it was April. I can send you the clip. So there's like a shorter clip on YouTube, but I have the full clip, so I could send it to you. But I think it was like April 3rd or April something. I don't remember the exact date of, like, I think it was 2024. Was it?
Okay. I love
Or
this.
maybe 23. I don't remember. Somewhere around there. Yeah.
Look for it. I was there in December. I was in the audience. I wasn't on the show.
Oh, nice.
This was so good. My one of my cousins is the post-production manager. So everything that gets seen on TV, she has to give the okay for that. So
Oh,
yeah,
maybe I need to go in person and get
you
back on.
probably have. She
I
just
need
got
to work
married.
on the tunnel because I'm a good dancer.
Yes, yes. I love this. I love this. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to make sure that we talk about before we leave these beautiful folks?
I think the last thing really is the two biggest things I'd say is like networking and visibility. So visibility in terms of, like, even if you don't know what you want to do with your career or with your business,
Mm-hmm.
You have something to share in terms of life experience. So start creating content and documenting. And I'm not saying like get like you don't have to put your business out there, like your personal life, but start creating content and being visible. If you go to a conference, document that. If you're going to be speaking somewhere, invest in a videographer to get you a clip of that. If you want to write a book, go for it. Whatever you want to do, just be visible and then network with other people online and in person, because you never know what one connection can do. And it's not, it's like two-sided too. Like I like connecting people with other people too. Because you just never know. Literally one connection can change your whole life. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And be in community. So that's something else with this mastermind community. Obviously, I got to meet you. Um, yeah, like go on podcasts, start your own podcast. So many people are afraid to share their stories and stuff, but you never know. Like somebody might need to hear what you have to say to help them with whatever they're going through at that time. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if I can add on to that, what I
Yeah.
hear, that's you're establishing your authority. In a world of AI, you have to do that. Your voice is powerful. You need to lean into the gifts that you already have. Be you, show up
Yeah.
so that people that you are called to serve know who you are. You don't get your blessings when you're masking and you're showing up as someone else and you're pretending that you're this or that. Be your full self. If you talk with a list, if you cuss like I'm a cusser, I'm way better than I was. All the things, because that is what's going to attract the person that you're called to serve to you. You have to be your full self. Um,
Yeah.
because
And
everybody else is taken.
and then the last thing that I'll say is it sounds whatever, but really take time to listen and reflect, because a lot of times, especially for those that are faith based, like God speaks to you in different ways, whether through other people or messages you some way. Like listen to that, listen to your gut feeling and do the thing. Just like when I wanted to do the conference,
Right.
people were like, you're going to pull off a conference in less than 3 months? That's impossible. Like nobody could do that. No one's going to come. I was like, cool, watch me. I'm going to do it because because I was like, something keeps telling me you got to do this. And this was in the period where I was laid off. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, this is God showing me another way, like, hey, you're meant to put your message out there. You're meant to do this. So listen to that and execute. Most people will take a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and they're just thinking about it and
Right.
they never execute. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just execute. When I got that idea, I think it took me 5 days and I executed on it. And that was it.
I love that. I love that. Well, she's the queen executor, so follow her lead. Me, it took a little bit longer for a number of reasons, traumas, all kinds of things. So, but the one thing that I've been consistent about is my podcast. I love having deep conversations. I consider it a show, and I love getting to meet and hear other stories. I love, 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 love deep conversations. And with that, my last question for you, I like to flip the mic. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. So, my question for you is, what is the impact you want to make right now in this season?
The impact that I want to make right now in this season, I have a food brand. I'm a food entrepreneur. I make an all organic uh, barbecue sauce. I like to say barbecue made it famous, but we put that shit on everything. And I am bringing it to market. So not
Awesome.
only do I teach and coach, but the intimacy that is um, that happens around tables and food, I want to have the impact of bringing more people together because we're in such a divided space for one purpose. But then my business is also a social enterprise. Every purchase goes into a fund, a savings fund, so that we can help meet immediate needs. And what that looks like, we call them random acts of love. We donate the first $100, and
Mhm.
we get our community, the people that believe in what we're doing, to also help. So an immediate need could be someone's car broke down and they can't get to work and they need to get their car repaired. We would help that. I feel like there are not enough organizations that fill in the gap of immediate needs. Somebody loses their job, they want to send their kid to camp. We'll fund the kid to go to camp. I believe most people are one random act of love away for their life being changed for the better. That little person that goes to science camp or math camp, something sparks in them, and all of the things. So that's what I'm building and bringing to life. The organization, we're called Midwest Way. Our tagline, actually, thank you for asking, is
Mhm.
"Ain't no way like the Midwest way." For the social enterprise. So yeah,
I
that's
love
the impact that I want to have. We're doing pop-up experiences, so look for us. The first, I'm going to LA for a conference. I'm going to hold something there in LA, so we'll be talking about it. You can catch us on Instagram at the Midwest Way.
Nice. I love that. That's amazing. Well,
Yeah,
congrats on everything you're doing
thank
and
you.
congrats on the podcast. And I love your energy and thank you again so much for the opportunity. And I think that's what it is, right? Like finding your purpose, the impact, and I think that's what drives people to keep going. So great work that you're doing.
Absolutely. Same to you, my beautiful one. Um, on that note, anything you'd like to say goodbye?
Um, yeah, just basically stay positive, stay blessed and prayed up, and that's it. Yeah.
And for me, you all know, until next time, I want you to take self-love care.